What I'd like you to do is now open up the restaurant application, and again you'll see the welcome screen, so just click close on here. If you see the message bar on your screen, you'll need to temporarily enable the content of this database. In Lesson 2, we discussed creating a trusted location for the project files folder. If you would like to create a trusted location, please refer to that lesson. If you need to temporarily enable the content of this database, here are the steps you need to take. Click the Options button on the message bar. Next, select the Enable this content option on the Microsoft Office Security Options dialog box, and then click OK. On the left side, we have the navigation pane, and right now, all of the groups are collapsed. What I'd like to show you is the different categories that you can see within Access 2007. Click the very top of the navigation pane, and you'll see this heading called Navigate to Category. Underneath it, you're going to see Restaurant Application, Object Type, Tables and Related Views, Created Date, and Modified Date. These are the different categories within this specific database. For a new blank database, you're probably going to see the word Custom. This database, I've created some custom categories and groups, and in a later lesson, I'll show you how to do that. But for right now, you'll see Restaurant Application here. What I'd like you to do is click that first option. And this is the custom groups and categories that I've created for this particular database. You can see Employee Details, Employee Reports, Vendor Details, Vendor Reports, Edit Invoices, and if I scroll just a little bit further, you'll see Invoice Reports and About. This particular database has another option called Object Type, and this is the traditional view of showing object types that you're used to using in previous versions of Access. Click Object Type, and you're going to see the Tables, Queries, Forms, Reports, and Macros headings. This database has no modules saved in it, but if it did, you would see modules listed in here. If you only had tables, for example, only the tables would be showing. Click back up at the top of the navigation pane, and under here, you're going to see Filter by Group, Tables, Queries, Forms, Reports, and Macros. If you wanted to show just one particular group, let's say, for example, Queries, if I click Queries, I'm only going to see the queries that are defined in this database. I'm going to click again, and if I select the last option, All Access Objects, this will show all the objects in the database, grouped by category. If you click on this option, you'll see the one saved macro object in this database. Click again at the top of the navigation pane, and then select the Tables and Related Views. In this option, you're going to see all the objects grouped around a specific table. For instance, the first one is Table Train Position, and it even says the word table next to it. Beneath it, any object, be it a query, form, report, that references this particular table will be grouped in this category. You might also see some of these objects listed twice. For instance, you'll see this report, Employee Job Code List, listed right below in the table job code, and that's because this report uses both of these tables. Similarly, this report here, the train positions, also is listed twice. If I scroll further down, you're going to see every table listed in this database, and it'll always be listed up at the top in the Tables and Related view. If I scroll further down, it looks like there's a lot more database objects in here, but that's because Access is just duplicating the object shortcut. Let me scroll all the way down to the bottom of the list, and you're going to see an option that says Unrelated Objects. Right in here we have a query, 3 forms, 1 report, and 1 macro. None of these objects depend upon a specific table, so that's why you do not see them grouped along with a table. Let's go back to the top of the navigation pane here. And I'd like you to look at the Filter by Group options for Tables and Related Views. In here, you're going to see every one of the tables that we have created in this database. If there's not enough room to display them all, Access shows More. I'd like you to click the More option on here, and Access opens the Filter by Table dialog box. From here, you can actually filter to display all the objects around one specific table. For instance, if I click Table Employees, then click OK, the navigation pane switches to only showing just the table employees. So if you have a lot of database objects in your database and you need to work with a specific table, this might be a good view to show all the objects that relate to that table. For instance, in here we have some queries, 2 forms, and quite a few reports that reference this data table. So if I make a change to the employees table, I might want to come to this view and see if it's going to affect any of these objects. Click again at the top of the navigation pane, and if you want to see all tables again, click the last option, and you'll see that the navigation pane shows all the tables again. Let me show you another category, created date. If I click created date, what Access does is sort all of the objects into time intervals. All the objects in this database were created last week. If I scroll back up, under Filter by Group, currently on screen, all you see is last week and all dates. Depending upon when you open this database, you might see some different options. For a new database you're creating, you could see options like today, yesterday, last week, 2 weeks prior, last month. So right now, we only have last week because I created all these database objects last week. Slide back up to Modified Date. This is a similar type of view like Created Date. The last time you modified this object, you opened it in Design View and you made some changes. And here you can see today. All of these objects were modified today. Below that, everything last week. So if you're developing a database and you're making lots of changes, you could use the Modified Date category to display all the recent objects you've worked on. However, I found this particular view not very helpful if you haven't touched the database for several months, because all of the objects are going to be grouped in one category.